Nous sommes dans une période extraordinaire où beaucoup de gens ont déjà ouvert les yeux. Et qui peuvent maintenant voir en un clin d'œil la manipulation sur la Terre. Les stratagèmes des manipulateurs ont servi pendant de nombreuses années, mais maintenant nous commençons tous au moins à nous en douter. Un de leurs tours suprêmes est sur le point d'arriver. Il s'agit de faire croire au monde qu'une race extraterrestre nous envahit. Pour cela, la Terre entière devra s'unir contre cet ennemi venu de l'extérieur. Les dirigeants du monde entier devront s'unir. Ce sera la touche finale d'un nouvel ordre. Et tout ce qui en découlera changera le cours de l'humanité pour toujours. Ce grand événement est déjà conçu et programmé, certains disent pour l'année 2024, mais pour que le plan de la tromperie suprême fonctionne, les gens doivent d'abord être trompés un peu à la fois. Cet événement est maintenant connu sous le nom de Blue Beam. Tout le monde est certainement au courant de ce terme aujourd'hui. Le Blue Beam existe déjà ainsi que la technologie qui est gardée cachée pour l'utiliser. Des aéronefs en forme de disque qui, à première vue, peuvent être considérés comme des ovnis ou des objets non humains tournent déjà dans le ciel. Mais il ne s'agit pas d'une technologie extraterrestre mais simplement d'une technologie terrestre, qui est gardée secrètement cachée afin que lorsqu'elle apparaîtra, les gens pensent qu'il s'agit d'une chose hors de ce monde. Et ce sera la première étape de la tromperie. Le Blue Beam commencera avec son premier passage en 2023, cette année. Et nous en avons discuté plusieurs fois entre amis dont certains ont déjà prédit qu'en 2023 nous commencerons à voir beaucoup d'infos officielles où les gouvernements commenceront à communiquer que des objets inconnus ont été capturés et abattus ou même apparus de nulle part et se sont écrasés dans une partie reculée de la Terre.
Lo último que sabemos es que este objeto no identificado estaba siendo vigilado por las últimas 24 horas y que el presidente Joe Biden estuvo recibiendo cada detalle por su equipo de seguridad nacional. Sin embargo, fue el primer ministro canadiense Justin Trudeau quien dio la orden de que fuera derribado. Y esto se hizo con un avión de guerra F-22, luego de que ambos mandatarios fueran asesorados militarmente y tomaran esa decisión. El Pentágono también confirmó que Trudeau y Biden estuvieron en conversaciones ante este objeto que ahora se busca recaudar pues los escombros. Al igual esto ocurre mientras en Alaska equipos están buscando las últimas piezas del objeto que fue derribado el día de ayer.
Nous verrons également des ovnis déplacés dans des camions, à la vue de tout le monde, pour que les gens les filment et les mettent en ligne sur les médias sociaux. Et la boule commencera à rouler et rapidement tout le monde parlera des objets volants qui arrivent. Bien sûr, tout ceci n'est qu'une stratégie grossière. Annoncer que des avions de l'armée ont fait dériver un objet volant non identifié et montrer la vidéo aux médias officiels n'est qu'un mensonge de plus. Pourquoi montreraient-ils une telle chose s'ils l'ont toujours caché? S'ils le montrent maintenant et le communiquent, c'est parce qu'ils veulent que nous le sachions maintenant. Tout naît de la manipulation des médias. Une grande partie de ce plan fonctionne presque inconsciemment et automatiquement par les créateurs de contenu et les blogs de fake news, qui soulèvent ces choses et les mettent en ligne en disant n'importe quelle sottise sans enquêter sur quoi que ce soit. Comme par exemple cette vidéo qui prétend qu'il s'agit d'un vaisseau spatial pléiadien.
Un objeto metálico en forma de disco aparece en una finca de Isla Menorca, España, este 21 de febrero del 2023.
Mais qu'il s'agit simplement d'une œuvre d'art réalisée par deux personnes. Ou ces images d'une boule de fer sur la plage. Ou des centaines de blogs disent que c'est quelque chose d'extraterrestre. Comme vous pouvez le constater, la grande faute de toute la désinformation revient à ces jeunes avec des chaînes et des blogs, qui pour gagner quelques sous disent n'importe quelle connerie. Et le pire de tout est qu'il y a des milliers de personnes qui les croient. Et parfois à travers leurs conjectures et sans s'en rendre compte, ils offrent des idées et des solutions à cette élite satanique. Chaque jour des fake news sortent et sont diffusées par ces jeunes et deviennent virales. Et bien sûr ces fake news vont de vlog en vlog et de chaîne en chaîne, et très peu de gens vont sur des chaînes sérieuses pour découvrir la vérité. Le fait est qu'il faut faire attention aux infos officielles, ce sont elles qui vont essayer de nous tromper. C'est la première phase du Blue Beam qui va attirer l'attention des gens endormis, des gens qui ne croient en rien et encore moins aux ovnis, mais lorsqu'ils verront cela dans une info officielle, dans un média officiel, ils commenceront à voir et à prêter attention. Bien sûr ce qu'ils verront n'est pas une sorte de vaisseau spatial extraterrestre ou quoi que ce soit, c'est juste une technologie secrète du gouvernement qu'ils utiliseront pour tromper tout le monde. 2024, le Blue Beam va commencer. Et des objets holographiques dans le ciel manipuleront l'esprit de millions de personnes. Il pourrait s'agir de choses religieuses ou extraordinaires, qui, ajoutées à la véritable technologie du gouvernement secret, tromperont facilement les grandes masses endormies en leur faisant croire qu'une invasion extraterrestre est en train d'arriver.
You know, I've been doing this a long time, and I was traveling around America in the 1990s. I was talking to whistleblowers who were from the inside of the military industrial intelligence complex. And they were telling me that flying saucers were being flown by the American military. Because it's a simple thing. If you can keep from the public the cutting edge of technology that you have, then when you start flying what you really have around, people look and go, well, humans haven't got this, so it's an alien operation of some kind. And I remember back in the 1990s, the Canadian journalist Serge Monast, who died in 1996 of a heart attack when he had no history of heart problems. The day after he'd spent the night in jail as part of a constant attack and intimidation of him by the authorities, after he began to reveal something called Project Bluebeam. And this was a plan, he said, to create the illusion of a, quote, alien invasion that would, in one area, unite the world against a common enemy. Another aspect of possibility is that this alien invasion comes in as the savior of humanity after catastrophe unfolds. But the point is that the technology that he said would be used to scam this apparent alien invasion is very much with us now. And it was founded, he said, on holographic projections in the sky. And what Monas was talking about was, first of all, apparent ships in the sky, but also the projection of religious figures in the sky over areas of the world where that religious figure is most revered. So it would be Jesus in the Christian world, Mohammed in the Islamic world, and so on. And I remember, Gaz, back in the 1990s, when I was in America, subject, that there was complete dismissal from the authorities. You remember Roswell, it's a weather balloon, and oh no, there's no evidence, oh, UFOs, oh yeah, just crazy conspiracy theorists, you know, UFO nuts. And yet, you've seen in recent years how subtly that has changed. Now the Pentagon are publishing reports from the experiences of like Navy pilots who are reporting seeing craft that, from their perspective anyway, couldn't possibly do what they are witnessing them doing, like moving at incredible speeds, like over America or coming out of the ocean off the west coast of America. I've heard that many times during the 1990s that people had seen that. And that they were changing direction at these fantastic speeds and then basically disappearing, which means leaving our reality that we can perceive called visible light. And so I look at this and I look at what Monas talked about. And I think we have to be very, very streetwise to the fact that the fake alien invasion, whatever gloss or spin they put on it for their own benefit, i.e. centralization of power, is very much a possibility.
Don't worry, we're going to get this thing going here. And he said, they're closing in. They know he's in California now. And we were on some of our experiments on some of the crafts. We operated different principles, and some of them would create a corona around the outside of the. Mm-hmm. We'd operate these little.
The dielectric principles,
right,
of the ionization process. Mm-hmm.
And so, even though it was daylight, sometimes you'd see these things, and the people in the valley were that was the era of flying saucers and stuff. So they thought, "Oh my God, this place has got flying saucers around here and stuff." Well, that and the fact that the powers that were trying to reduce Carr's activities was following him, trying to find him. So he said, "Well, we're just going to have to keep working on." Precise way, Carr said, we can levitate these machines now. There's no, we get off the earth. We're killing a lot of animals. We're destroying the plant life. He says, within a year we'll have these things going, and we can start with the automobile. That's obsolete. We can get these things going, and then the homes, and which is my interest. I've always wanted, why not? Like the Jetsons, for instance, floating homes, and then maybe cities, and then maybe, countries. Who knows the end of it? But this guy got real aggressive and said, you put them up there, Carr, and we'll shoot them down. That was his words. You put them up and we'll shoot them down.
Wow.
And I was flabbergasted, like, well, why? What?
Mm-hmm.
He says, well, you're advocating an energy field that that there's no money involved. We can't,
We have no means of controlling it. It was his premise here,
right?
No doubt.
Because you're pulling energy out of the air, which is all around us, and using that to transport or teleport or whatever.
And I remember too, there was a guy called Werner von Braun. He was a German. He was serving the Nazi party of Adolf Hitler.
My name is Carol Rosen. In 1974, after being a sixth grade school teacher, I was introduced to the late Dr. Werner von Braun in the U.S., the father of rocketry. In my first meeting with him, during that first 3.5 hours, he said to me, "Carol, you will stop the weaponization of space." And I said, teachers don't stop until June. He said, "No, you have to understand. This is February, and we have to prevent the weaponization of space because there is a lie being told to everyone that the weaponization of space is now first being based upon the evil empire, the Russians. There are many enemies," he said, "against whom we're going to build this space-based weapon system. The first of whom was the Russians, which was existing at that time. Then there would be terrorists. Then there would be third world countries. Now we call them rogue nations or nations of concern. Then there would be asteroids." And then he would repeat to me over and over, "And the last card, the last card, the last card would be the extraterrestrial threat."
He was behind the V2 rockets that were fired on London. And then through something called Project Paperclip, he and a lot of other Nazi scientists, geneticists, mind control experts, including Joseph Mengele, the angel of death from the concentration camps, were spirited to America after the war to continue their work, only this time for the Americans. Although when you get to the level of what I call the global cult, country borders and country governments take on a very different perspective. It's actually one cult. And so Wernher von Braun was the major figure behind the Saturn V rockets that are said to have powered the moon landings. And he was reported by the lady herself, his longtime assistant, after he died, that Wernher von Braun had given her a list of things that were going to happen, and that all of them would be fake. And one of them in the list was there would be a fake alien invasion.
And then he would repeat to me over and over, and the last card, the last card, the last card would be the extraterrestrial threat.
Set up to manipulate the population into a mass response and behavior that that would suit the ambitions and goals of the cult. So I'm looking at this more and more seriously now, as we're seeing these reports, because it's a very strong possibility that they're going to play this. And Monash, as I recall, was talking about something like 2024 when this Project Bluebeam was planned to be played out. I do think that in the overall scheme of this manipulation of the alien invasion, that we do need to keep very aware that this has been long in the planning and could well be played.
He said, no, it's simple. Your brain is there to operate your body. You're in a vessel here. It's an illusionary vessel that people don't realize, because we're creating it in microseconds. From one second to the other, these shutters are opening and shutting and creating all this reality you see around you. It doesn't really exist. It's all spirit. It's all energy. But we're creating this.
Ceci n'est pas la réalité. Qu'est-ce que le réel? Tu peux définir le réel?
Your brain has a capacity limit. It goes to a certain point of its responsibility, and unless it's in touch with the mind, unless it consents to be in touch with the mind, which
the
is
higher mind, really.
Well, yeah, that's the mind of all of us, because we're all one. Unless it gets in touch with that, it doesn't know what's going on.
T'as vécu dans un monde de rêve, Néo. Ceci est le monde tel qu'il est aujourd'hui. Bienvenue dans le désert du réel.